who is going to take the biggest leap from the bottom 5 seeds in each conference from those bottom fives last year. Just to remind everyone, those bottom 5 seeds from each conference respectively last year include the Indiana Pacers, Dallas Mavericks, Washington Wizards, Utah Jazz, Orlando Magic, Portland Trailblazers, Charlotte Hornets, San Antonio Spurs, Detroit Pistons, and Houston Rockets. So I'll move you up, Jay. I'll let you give your take first. Who do you have as a bottom 5 seed last year that is set to make the biggest jump headed into next season?
There is no bottom 5 seed that's going to take the leap that the Dallas Mavericks are going to take this upcoming season. I mean, let's be honest. They were dog shit. They were absolutely awful this entire season. It was Luka. Hey, can you grind this one out? We can't really help you out or contribute to this win at all, but can you do it? And Luka got tired of it, bro. It wore him out, and he just could no longer do it. I mean, now that the Dallas Mavericks got some bigs, I mean, they made some moves to bring in Rashawn Holmes. They drafted Derek Lively, a very, very good rim protector. I love those moves. They were desperately needing some bigs. And most importantly, a lot of people don't realize this, Maxi Kleber will finally be healthy. I mean, have a start from the training camp to the end of the season healthy. He had tore his hamstring and only recovered in a few months span. And he tried to rush back, and he just wasn't himself. He wasn't shooting the ball well, and he wasn't the defending big stretch 4, stretch 5 that he was the year before, where they made the Western Conference Finals. Maxi Kleber is a very important piece for them going forward. But with that being said, they brought back Kyrie as well. With Kyrie, Luka, they have 2 bigs. Maxi Kleber brought back Seth Curry. I mean, the team is going to be special. Still have Jaden Hardy, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm not that high on Tim Hardaway Jr. anymore. He was on my Knicks, though he's going to be good. He's just a very inconsistent shooter. But with that being said, this Dallas Mavericks team has a mix of vets, has a mix of really nice young talent to complement both Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. I can't see them being anything less than a top 4 seed, to be honest.
Bro, nah.
That's a bit crazy.
Okay, stop.
Right.
Stop.
Go ahead, Mo.
I was gonna challenge you anyway, but I'm glad you said the top 4 seed thing. So I think we can all agree that the bottom 5 placement was like a mixture of bad luck, bad timing, and just severe underperforming as the season went on. And you got to look at the Lakers, who charged from where the Mavericks were to an actual playoff spot. So I'm gonna give the Mavericks, and to a larger point, Luka and Kyrie as a duo, a little bit of leeway. I'm gonna shoot them a little bit of bail and say that was just like a crazy outlier and something that is probably not going to happen next season. I don't foresee them being a bottom 5 seed again. Where I do question you is on the top 4 seed thing. Now, we saw from the West this year that the West was pretty wide open, besides the top two, 3 seeds, and the rest of the West was in a really, really condensed as to we don't know if the Lakers could go out of the play-in or they might fall into the play-in. You know, OKC had a chance at making the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. So from that standpoint, yes, they're going to jump up, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be this monumental leap from, you know, them being what were they, like an 11 seed or something like that to a top 4 seed. Much less, I don't see them as being a top 3 seed, but that's my own personal thing. With this Mavericks team, I have questions on whether they're really built for the regular season. When playoff time comes, we know what Luka turns into. Kyrie's a all right playoff performer historically. So I have a little bit of faith that they can win like a series, maybe even get further. But this team is just not built for the regular season. You look at all the responsibilities that Luka, you know, takes on the offensive side of the ball. And yes, they are alleviated slightly by Kyrie Irving, but I still think that he has the ball in his hand way too much. In order for this offense to really click, it has to basically go through Luka or Kyrie isolation, because Kyrie isn't the facilitator that a lot of people seem to think he is. He's fine at that, but he's not going to be the one to run your offense, get 8-9 assists a game, stuff like that. So
but
that's
they have the weapons for him to do so now. And he has
And,
Luka Doncic,
okay.
even if he's not facilitating. That's what Luka's for.
He's not. But what I'm saying is, Luka, and this has to do with Luka as well, because he has to develop in order to not. He has to be effective without the ball in his hand. He has the ball in his hand way too much, even with Kyrie on the floor, and that's saying something, because Kyrie is somebody who needs the ball in his hands to be effective as well. At least, scoring wise. I'm not too big on off ball Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie's best attributes is isolation. So that's what he's going to do. But what I'm saying is we've seen iterations of this team, without Kyrie, now with Kyrie. I don't think that they're going to be super, super threatening, at least in the regular season. Again, playoff comes, Luka turns into a different beast, and that's an entirely different animal. But as far as regular season, I don't like this team's chances in the regular season. I see them as potentially maybe a 4 seed if they overachieve. 5, 6 is where I'd slot them in at, me personally.
Listen, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get back to where like the debate is on, but just my thoughts on this. I don't know how much you guys are gonna like this. The Mavericks aren't making the playoffs. They're not.
Not against
Again,
it.
They're not.
I'm
They're
not
not.
against
They're not
it.
making the
Y'all
playoffs
are
again.
insane.
They are not making the playoffs because at the end of the day, and I've heard all these rumors and stuff like that, like, oh, Luka's in the best shape of his career. Like right now, he's doing the most work in the offseason, all this stuff. That's great. Okay. But we've noticed more over the last couple years and it's become more apparent. We've all said for years and years and years, basketball's a team game. Okay. It's more so about how the team fits. And for me personally, it doesn't matter if you have two players as great as Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. From watching them last season, got the impression that they were just a bad fit for each other and that they couldn't figure out who was going to be the 1A and the 1B late in games or most of the game or something like that. It was just really sketch most of the year. And so until I see that, then I'll believe that. Okay. Now I know we got some people saying like, yeah, their roster has changed completely. Their roster has changed a bit. I mean, they still got Dwight Powell. That's one of the big things. They still got Maxi Kleber. They still got Tim Hardaway Jr. Who's not getting PT? Dwight Powell.
Dwight Powell.
Are we sure about that?
Is Jason Kidd still there?
Jason Kidd better use the 2 brain cells he got up there and not play Dwight Powell, bro.
But if Jason Kidd is there, I can assure you Dwight Powell will be getting substantially. He'll be getting more minutes than he's worth, more than any other center in the whole league, except maybe like Yusuf Nurkic or something like that. Okay, that's just the reality of the situation. Until I can see that they can fit in well together, because I haven't heard too much rumors like lately this offseason about like Kyrie and Luka working out together. Okay. But if I can see this with them together, I'm not going to believe until I see it. There were some teams in the West that got better, in my opinion. Teams that didn't even make the playoffs, I think they're going to be substantially better. Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be a much better team next year. We also got to assume if the Pelicans are healthy, they're going to be a good team. The Spurs just got Wembanyama. There's a lot of moving parts. And I think, honestly, as much as people are going to write them off, the Jazz having an extremely big lineup is something that could be scary. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but it can be scary, and you can't deny that, okay? So all I'm going to say is there is no shoe-in for the Mavericks. I think outside like the Nuggets and probably the Suns, everything else in the West can be like up for grabs. And I think we're going to trust like top players in the league like Kawhi or LeBron or Steph Curry to at least get them there. Like, so that's already a couple more teams probably in that position. And there's other teams like the Wolves and stuff. There's teams like, like I said, the Pelicans are healthy. You know what I mean? Like the Grizzlies as well. The Kings just had a great year. So I don't know if I see the Mavericks making the playoffs again next year. I think they will have a better record. I think that maybe the West will be a little bit more competitive. I don't know if we'll ever see another season again where the 4th seed in the West wins 45 games. I think that last year was kind of an anomaly season. But I think they will be a better team. I don't know if they'll even make the playoffs, though. I think they'll more than likely be in the play-in. So,
yeah.
That's a spicy
Jared,
take. That's spicy.
Jared,
I didn't even want to go that far, but hey.
Incredibly spicy, bro. Like
you said it'll be top 4, and that's not spicy.
No, it's more realistic than not making the playoffs.
I don't know.
Is
about
it
that.
though?
Really?
I don't know about that, man.
How?
Like my
Losing,
boy
Jay.
Night Striker said, they completely changed their roster, bro. Completely changed it, bro. They have
Bro,
like,
I even
yeah,
acknowledged that and made it into my point and how it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter enough that they won't make the playoffs.
Bro, I
think
don't
that's
know if they
crazy.
will. They're definitely not a shoe-in to make the playoffs. I think realistically,
that's
they're gonna be like somewhere between. They're probably gonna be in the play-in range again, more than likely.
I
in my
said 4,
opinion.
5, 6, 4 if they overachieve. So
I don't even think they could be 4.
I'm not
Honestly,
You have a full season of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. You have
We
the
had a
young
full
guys
season of Luka
developing.
Doncic last season. Not a full season, but we had a good majority of the season. And for the time that Luka was out, we also had Kyrie. So
this is
I
not
mean, yeah,
happening,
but
bro.
they clearly was still trying to fill each other out, though. They have a
Bro, they
trend,
were.
some
I
of the
mean,
vibe.
that's fair, but they also were really bad together, like egregiously bad. To
Very
use
bad.
Gabe's word, egregiously bad. Okay,
And
so they were in the 4 seed, I think, when they got him, right?
Listen,
Yeah,
I think they
four
might
or
have
five
been a little
seed.
lower than
So
that.
they were
in
a
the
4
playoffs.
seed
the
until
West was
Kyrie
mad
Irving came.
close. The West was mad close, bro.
The
Come
West
on.
was mad mid
It-
this year.
it
The
was-
West was
yeah,
not
it
good.
was mid.
Outside the top 3 teams, the West was not good. I didn't
Like-
like
like
any
I-
of those teams' chances.
like I
to get in
said,
the
Jay,
finals.
The 4 seed won 45 games this year. Next year, a 45 win team in the West, like probably be around 7-8. So even if they are as good as the 4 seed was this year, they'll still probably be in the play-in. I would expect at least.
Can I just say I don't believe that the Lakers are going to be that good next year. All right, let me read that. I don't believe that the Clippers are going to be that good next year. I don't believe that the Warriors are going to be that good next year. I don't think
So the Mavericks will be better than both of them.
Absolutely locked.
Bro, come on, man. This is not no, bro. This is not.
Keep in mind, this is we're gonna have this forever. So
Hey,
yeah, no, Garrett, we're gonna have this forever. So when they're in the playoffs next year, we're gonna come back to this.
You're telling me, okay, I get the Clippers in a sense because if they're like injury prone stuff, but you can't tell me that the Warriors, based on the season they just had, are gonna be worse than the Mavericks, unless the Mavericks are like a top 2 seed or something, and that's not happening.
Golden State Warriors gonna be 6, like 6 or below, bro. They're not being better than
No, bro. They would Curry would have to like miss like the whole year for that to happen, almost, or a majority
you
of
know
the year.
what?
All right, let's be honest. Hold up. Let's be honest for a second. Steph Curry is 35 years old. I don't know how much longer y'all expect him to play at this.
His game, no.
Dog.
His game ages probably better than most stars ever. Okay,
He has an elite playmaker next to him for next season now on CP, which is going to make
he
it
can
even
play till
easier
he's
for him.
50, bro. He can play till he's 50.
It's not
but
anymore, bro.
But I'm saying we got some young talent, some real young talent up and coming. I don't think they're gonna.
We got Steph Curry. He's until Tatum did it just the series after. He held the Game 7 scoring record in a playoff game, bro.
That's facts.
I understand that, but
this year he did that. This year,
everybody
just
peaks.
it was 2 months ago. He did that.
Jay,
2.5 months and change ago.
Jay, what did you just say? What did you just say? You said everybody peaks. I know you're not about to tell me that last year playoff Curry was his peak. That's not what you're about to say, right?
I didn't say that. That didn't come out of my mouth.
But you said it. But you said everybody peaks.
Dude.
You said that right after he just brought up the Game 7 point. I'm not letting you slide with that one.
But he dropped 50. That's a record. He dropped 50 in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you said everybody peaks.
And that might have been his peak. That might have been his peak.
Okay.
Dude, that might have been Steph Curry's peak, the greatest shooter ever and a top 3-point guard ever.
That might have been his peak. Let's be honest. Like, I'll keep it a bug.
What are you
that
talking
might
about?
Have been
his peak. No.
Bro.
All right, bro.
This guy is the first ever unanimous MVP, and you're saying that a one game against the Sacramento Queens was his freaking that was his peak.
I mean,
Sacramento Monarchs actually.
Nobody scored that many points in the playoffs, so it had to be his peak. I'm not saying
Jay is back officially. He is back to his wild takes.
That's not even a wild take in my opinion, bro.
Yes, bro. What? That is a crazy take.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I guess
we need to move along here. We've spent about 20 minutes on the Mavs here.
Yeah, I'll get us back on track. So the team that's going to make the biggest leap next year, that's a bottom 5 seed, I've said it for a while. I'm going to say it again. It's the Indiana Pacers. And there's maybe one other team that I could see like a standing wise jump taking a bigger leap than them, like from where they started last year to where they will be next year. However, I think in terms of them as a team and like how far they'll get, even like playoff wise, I think the Pacers will take the biggest jump. You think about they're gonna have another full season. You know, Ben Mathurin has a season under his belt. You add in another tough-minded player in Jarris Walker. You bring in Bruce Brown, right? Like that's three perfect people for what Indiana basketball usually is all about. And you basically got Obi Toppin, it felt like, for free because Chris Duarte didn't fit in too much with what the Pacers had going forward. And only what you all gave up for Chris Duarte, or what you got back for Chris Duarte, you gave up to get Obi Toppin. So it's almost like you didn't really lose much there. I think Rick Carlisle, knows what he's doing as a head coach. I think he got maybe too much hate near the end of the Dallas time, but I mean, I think he knows what he's doing personally. He has experience and stuff like that, and he can push his players to the limit. So I'm excited to see what the Pacers do next year. I think they're probably going to be somewhere. They'll probably be a lower end playoff seed team, probably like somewhere between like 5 through 8, somewhere in there. Realistically, maybe like a 6, 7, something like that, if I had to guess. But I've said before, and I'm gonna stand by it again. I think the Pacers will win a playoff series this year. I think they will. Whoever they'll play, I don't know who they're going to play, but I think it's going to catch that team off guard, and they're going to take them for granted, and the Pacers aren't going to look back. So I love the Bruce Brown signing. It helps change the culture a lot. And I've been high on Jarris Walker, probably higher on Jarris Walker. I made a video making my March Madness predictions, and the name you heard the most, the name that was hyped up the most in that video was Jarris Walker. So I'm high on him. I'm high on the Pacers next year. And I think Halliburton's going to prove again that, he is an all-star caliber player. And if he didn't get injured this past season, they probably could have been a playoff team too. So, this season, I don't expect him to get injured or anything like that. Mathurin will take a jump once again. Andrew Nembhard will too. Miles Turner is going to continue to play well, at least for the time that he's there, until he ultimately is in trade rumors again and probably never gets traded, because that's just how it goes. But overall, I think that they have a really nice team, and yeah, they're gonna be fighting with everybody in the East.
Interesting. I do agree that the Pacers are going to be a playoff team this year, but I don't have them taking the biggest jump. Who I have taken the biggest jump is the Charlotte Hornets. Now, with the introduction of a Brandon Miller, that is a key piece in their team that is, filled wing depth. I don't foresee them keeping Miles Bridges, in the future. So like this is good to have and to build around, for the future. But as far as next season goes, I definitely believe that the Hornets are a playoff team. You look at how they finished off the season this year. They finished off as one of the top defenses in the league due to, their new acquisitions at the center position. We're going to get hopefully we get a healthy LaMelo Ball season for the entirety of the season. We got their rookie. We got Miles Bridges, who we bringing back for a 1-year deal. I don't expect him to miss a step, when he might be a little rusty because he did have significant time away from basketball. But I think that with the amount of cohesion that this team already has, increased with the jump that I'm projecting LaMelo to take, increased with him being a healthy LaMelo Ball, I think that the sky's the limit for this team. Realistically, I could see them peaking as high as a 5 seed. More than likely fighting for that 6-7, maybe might be in a play-in, might not. We'll see. But I definitely think that the Charlotte Hornets team is a playoff team.
Here's my thing with the Hornets as a postseason team, because I've said similarly in the past couple of weeks that I think they can make the play-in. I think there's a lot that has to go right for that to happen for them. And the problem is there's a lot of what ifs, buts, and maybes for that to happen. You talk about LaMelo Ball's health. That's a key thing for them if that's going to happen. And he just hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his career so far. That's consistently been something you cannot rely on. Miles Bridges, like you said, hopefully doesn't miss a step. But a year away from basketball, he's going to miss the first 10 games of the year as well. Factor in those 10 games and the fact that it's probably not going to be their leading scorer like he was when he last played for them, just seamlessly out of the gate. There's going to be a transition period there too. I think there's still some concerns there with them. There's other guys that also have their own injury problems on that team. I mean, you look at a guy like Gordon Hayward in particular, not that he's going to be a key guy for them this year, but still probably going to be a regular rotational guy. He's been struggling with injuries in the past. Terry Rozier is someone who's had that concern in the past as well. So there's definitely a lot of things that worry me with this Hornets team, some off the court and some just with injury concerns. I think if everything goes right, then they could definitely get there. I'm just not so sure that everything will go right for them because unfortunately for that organization, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, off the court things and injury concerns have really hampered their success.
Understandable.
I just want to pull this up because I feel like every time we talk about Dallas on this channel, like it's always some heat, and now there's heat coming my way. Do some homework, Mario. Hey, man, I don't believe in Dallas, man. I don't. Yeah,
but with that.
Oh, I just wanted to add though too, like just a little note, kind of about the team I was thinking about, but I didn't put the Orlando Magic. Like, I feel like they'll have the biggest standings jump this season of like even more so than the Pacers. I think they'll finish as a higher seed. I just feel like the Pacers will do more like come playoff time than them. But I don't know. I like Orlando. I think if they're healthy, people forget like when Markelle got back, like I think they were a slightly above 500 team last year. They're gonna have more experience. They get Jet Howard and stuff like that. So solid. I'm liking what the Magic got going to. Not as much as the Pacers next year, but yeah.
Yeah, they're my pick they're my pick for the biggest jump next year. I think.
You think they will make the playoffs? You said Mo or won't?
No, I was gonna say I think if they make the playoffs, they'll probably sneak into one of the lower playing teams. I'm just not seeing that. I don't think that this team is going to have enough time in the NBA and together to, be a playoff team, especially with the pieces that they bringing in. They still got to figure out their guard rotation. They just brought in 2 guards. And then the other piece that they have are also extremely young, don't have any playoff experience whatsoever. So I think that they still 1-2 years away, maybe. But it's on the way soon. I definitely see it on the way soon, just not next year.
The thing that gives me hope for Orlando next year, like you say, they are still a young team. They do still have some rotational issues to figure out. First, like you mentioned, Garrett, they were a vastly different team once Markelle was back. I mean, they started last year at 5-20. They finished the year at 29-28, and Markelle did miss 21 of those first games in the year. So once Markelle was back, this team was drastically different. From a playmaking standpoint, he's the only guy who really offers that to anywhere near the level he brings on this roster. I mean, you get a little bit from Franz at times, you get a little bit from Cole Anthony at times, but no one's anywhere near as good of a playmaker as Markelle is. And no one's near as good of a point of attack defender at the point guard spot as he is. And that's not to say they don't have good perimeter defenders, because Suggs is a very good perimeter defender, but he more so plays the 2 for them. They've now added Anthony Black, and he's likely going to be another good perimeter defender. But the biggest thing for Orlando now is I really like what they have going forward defensively for next season. And I think that could be what makes it the most reliable for them heading into the regular season. Is I think even on some off shooting nights, which given the makeup of this roster right now is arguably their biggest weakness, they're going to be able to lie their cap on the defensive end enough to slug out some wins during the regular season between Jalen Suggs, if he stays around, and Markelle Fultz and Anthony Black. You have a lot of really good perimeter defenders. Paulo still has to work on some things defensively, but he at least has the length to be disruptive there. Franz is a solid defender. Wendell Carter Jr. is a solid defender for the center position. Like, there's a lot of really good defenders on this team, and I think that's something that they're going to be able to rely on, even as a young team that might ebb and flow on the offensive end at times. I think they have enough on that end that similar, not obviously in roster construction, but at least to how their team was to Raptors teams years ago when they were just starting to become relevant in the East with Lowry and DeRozan. There was a lot of nights where we just had to slug it out on the defensive end and win some nasty games, holding teams to 95, 100 points back when you could actually do that regularly. And I think Orlando could do that similarly again this year, where they're going to have some off shooting nights. They're going to have nights where maybe Paolo's struggling and or Franz is struggling, and they're not going to have much going on offense. But if they can buy in as a unit defensively, I think that's where they really have the upside this year to take that leap to be potentially a 5 or a 6 seed if all goes well for them.
This is why I think my Jazz take earlier wasn't too bad, that they might be scary. Because, like, bro, the Magic, if you think about it, the Magic and the Jazz are kind of similar in the sense where it's like, it's just more so like the Magic kind of have it fleshed out throughout their whole lineup. Like, they're going to have a really big lineup next year, like with Markelle Fultz and Anthony Black and stuff like that. You know, if Isaac's ever healthy, you know what I mean? You already got, like, you know, Paolo, and, you know, like they just have like a big team. And this, at the same time, it's like, bro, Utah's kind of doing that in the West, more so with their front court players. But also, like, you know, there's some other guys like, you know, Chris Dunn and stuff like that, Ochai Agbaji. So, like, I don't know. I feel like that was kind of fair game a little bit.
No, for sure.
No, well, I pretty much agree with all you guys about the Orlando Magic. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to say, Orlando Magic, why did y'all waive Bobo when y'all still have Jonathan Isaac on the roster? That does not make any sense.
Well, why would they waive him though? His contract is like crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. The only guy that you can argue over waiving over Bobo was Chumo Kiki. He's the guy that you'd make the argument for. Those were the two guys they were debating on. If anything, Isaac's they're obviously just going to hope he can stay healthy, but at this point, they're just going to hope that they can put his salary in a trade to match salaries to try and bring someone in, because you're not going to waive that. I think he's making like $17 million a year.
Bobo was like on a cheap deal, I think.
Yeah, Bobo was really cheap.
For a reason, because he sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, like, bro, if they waived Jonathan Isaac, they probably would have to like waive, and like they'd have to stretch that contract out to like 2030, more than likely. So, like, I don't know if that's ideal, because by that time they'll probably already be like at least 4 years into like being an elite playoff team. Maybe if they're a playoff team this year, like, bro, that's just gonna ruin everything. But I don't know. I think Jonathan Isaac might be. We should have talked about this when we had the worst contracts in the league. I don't know. Did anyone pick Jonathan Isaac when we did that or no?
That would have been a good one.
No, well, because he doesn't have much term left, does he?
What his contract
was.
Like,
it's still 2 years, but I mean, like, at least, like, I mean, didn't Ben Simmons even play more games than him this year? Like,
yeah, he would have, because Isaac played like 2 or 3, maybe it was a bit more, but it was limited. The nice thing, at least for Isaac's contract, is he's only guaranteed half of it this year, and it's non-guaranteed next year. So they only owe him 7.6 mil.
Oh my!
Or
God.
11, or like
That's
I think
so
11 games since the start of 2020, like the first week of 2020.
He's
It's been
literally
3.5 years.
He's literally scamming, bro.
Yeah, no. If he was fully guaranteed, if he was fully guaranteed the next 2 years, then it would look rough. But yeah, he's only guaranteed 7.6 mil over the next 2 years, so he might be gone.
Still an overpay. That's still an overpay for a water boy, a cheerleader, and whatever. They should bro. Come on.
Crazy.
Wow, bro.
I mean, it's true. What else does he do on the team?
Moral support? Shit, I don't know.
Oh, while we're
Sir, Seven, I could give you moral
preaches his
support, and you could only
political
pay me $1 million. I'll give you moral support for $1 million, man.
While we're on the Orlando Magic, I just want to say shout out to Anthony Black. You had a phenomenal debut as an Orlando Magic, but clean up them 7 turnovers, baby.
Oh my God, here we go with the 7 turnovers again,
bro. Get him in his props without hating, man.
Bro, he's better than Jalen Suggs, bro.
That's great.